Now, I'm Tom Basili. Today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. The day marks the anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp. But of course, as you know, between 1939 and 1945, 6 million Jews and people from other racial and religious minorities were killed by the Nazis and their collaborators during the Holocaust. What started out as relegation to ghettos eventually evolved into what Hitler called the final solution: death camps, gas chambers, and other horrors unlike anything the world had ever seen. Today, nearly 80 years after the end of World War II, there are fewer than 60,000 Holocaust survivors remaining. Here to discuss the importance of this day and why, especially now, it is critical to remember the lives lost and acknowledge that humanity is capable of this unspeakable evil, we are joined by Associate Dean and Director of Global Social Action for the Simon Wiesenthal Center, Rabbi Abraham Cooper. Also with us, Holocaust historian and author of How Could It Happen? Explaining the Holocaust, Dr. Dan McMillan. Gentlemen, welcome to you. Dr. McMillan, I want to go to you first. You know, when you think about it, it really wasn't that long ago. Today, however, recent polling shows that some 20% of 18 to 29-year-olds in this country believe that it was a myth. A quarter, nearly a quarter of young people believe that the Holocaust is exaggerated. How can that be?
I think precisely because the Holocaust is uniquely horrifying. It is, with good reason, the only historical event of any kind that truly frightens people. And I think mainly because it is the event where a ruling class of our most advanced society affirmed that individual human life had no value whatsoever. And the most extreme expression of this was the targeting of the Jewish people, which is the only ethnic group to be targeted for complete biological extinction. And I think that it's so frightening to us that a lot of us would rather believe that we are not capable of something so ghastly. I think and also Holocaust education is inadequate in our country. I think 33 of our federal states have no legal mandate for Holocaust education. Those, I guess, are two reasons I would give for this very unfortunate situation.
Rabbi, this year's different. We all know too well. The people of Israel were massacred on October 7th by members of Hamas. More than 1,200 killed during the attack, the largest single number of Jews killed in one day since the Holocaust itself. This day's always emotional, yes, and it's always thought-provoking, but this is this year that really very different, right?
It is a different year. Yesterday at the Simon Wiesenthal Center Museum of Tolerance, we hosted a program where the speakers included diplomats, but also a woman survivor of the Holocaust, and some of the survivors of the massacre that took place on October 7th. And the linkage emotionally, if not historically, is very, very powerful between those two incidents. This is a situation of October 7th, which the people of Israel and the Jewish people have not yet recovered from. It's a terrible loss. But also to clarify, January 27th was selected because it was the anniversary of the day that the Soviet soldiers liberated Auschwitz death camp in 1945. That's why January 27th is linked in. But we also have, when we look at the statistics that you show, they're quite frightening. I think we have to add two more factors.
Sure.
Number one, social media, and which means the access to people, including young and especially young people, are there for everyone, including Holocaust deniers. And I would say that there are two types of people who are in denial about the Holocaust, and maybe also can be applied to what happened on October 7th. Those who simply can't deal with the reality of Auschwitz, those who want to finish Hitler's job, and today with Hamas, those people who don't want to have to change their ideological viewpoints about the Palestinians, and then people like the Ayatollah Khomeini and Hamas and the rest who want to finish and erase the Jewish people from the earth. So the parallels are there, and they're quite stark.
Dr. McMillan, during the Holocaust, the Nazis used a lot of misinformation tactics to obscure the horror of what they were doing from the world, they created a victimhood culture in their society, blaming Jews for a range of problems facing Germany. Do you see similar tactics being used today as we watch the global and also the domestic response to October 7th?
Well, with regard to the war, the Gaza conflict, the Mideast war, I'm going to defer to Rabbi Cooper because I don't feel sufficiently well informed. When I look at American politics, I think in recent years we have seen an escalation of the use of prejudice of all kinds by both parties, which I interpret as a kind of divide and conquer mechanism that comes from both parties effectively been captured by the deep pocket of donors who pay for these campaigns, which have skyrocketed in cost in the last 10 years. I know that seems very indirect, but I guess I see a tendency in American politics more and more for political actors on both sides of the aisle to distract us from their failures by playing upon our prejudices to divide us from each other. And I think that has created a very toxic atmosphere in our politics. It's made our politics increasingly ugly. The language becomes more violent, and it allows prejudice of every kind, including anti-Semitism, to be expressed more freely.
Rabbi, real quick, I've got to give you, I'm running out of time. I'm going to give you the last word. What do you think people, what do you want people to think about today, sir, as we recall this human tragedy?
We want people to understand that it always starts with the Jews. It never ends with the Jews. And the challenge ahead for America in this political year, but even beyond, is how do we begin to reach our kids who get their information and perspective from TikTok and Telegram? We need to reel that back in and make sure that the generations understand why the Nazis were so successful and how that threat could affect them someday.
Wise words. Rabbi Cooper, Dr. Dan McMillan, thank you very much, gentlemen, on this sobering anniversary.